I got this email this evening, and I just said I'll give you a reply by a video. For people that don't know, I'm half dyslexic. I can write, but I'm using Grammarly and I'm rechecking stuff. And sometimes the stuff I write in emails, when I reread it, I said, "How did I do that?" And it's just I am dyslexic. I wasn't able to read until I was 12, and I've struggled with it all my life. I don't have it that as bad in other languages. The way our brains are wired is strange, us dyslexic people. But this is why I've been doing this video blog, because I'm able to get a message one way or the other, instead of writing a blog, which it would be torture for me. But anyway, I'm just going to read this email and then I'll reply to something here. Hi Robert, been meaning to write this up for a while, and upon watching your video about a person contemplating suicide, I think this email is extremely relevant. This might get a little long, so I apologise in advance, but I appreciate you taking the time to read it. I'm a 22-year-old Catholic from the United States. Up until about a year ago, I was not involved with my faith. Of my peers I attended public school and CCD'd with, I'm unaware of a single one who remains Catholic. And there was absolutely no reason that I should remain Catholic either. I can definitely say the only reason I am Catholic is divine providence. And upon becoming active in the church in the past year, it has become clear why God has protected me. It's the reason good Catholics have moments of despair like you received, in that individuals cry for help. It's an immense failure on the part of the church, and the so-called church community is non-existent, especially for younger people. As far as mental health is concerned, I can't begin to tell you how many thoughts I've heard from people that sound exactly like the email that was sent to you. So many turn to outside therapy instead of a priest, their family or friends within the church first. If we as Catholics are catechizing the faith correctly, it should be clear that to all that even the worst of situations, there is no need to despair. It is a crisis of the faith. So many have so little. At the smallest sign of a trouble, they forget if God is with us, who is against us. I've met so many well-connected young adults in the job market that seem to have no backing from anyone. This became apparent when I found myself being asked to review resumes and connect individuals to connections that I'd made in my own job search. For someone who's one of the few remaining Catholics in my family, it was shocking to see well-connected cradled Catholics turning to me for help instead of the multitude they already knew within the church. The dating scene is just as poor. I hear of many complaints about finding people, but many parishes simply do not offer young adults groups. Most exist solely in the university setting. Upon graduation, the young adult scene, depending on your area, is fairly small. And for the converts, it's tough as well. I know multiple people in other states in the US who have asked me to help them find a quality parish with a young adult group for them to join. Navigating parish websites for information on what they offer is very difficult, and most give little information on what those group meetings actually look like. I can find RCIA classes easily, but people are looking for the social aspect as well, a community of brothers and sisters to fight against the principalities and powers. I don't mean for this to be a negative email. I'm just constantly praised by older people in the church whenever I'm out with a group of young adults. No one ever seems to ask us the issues of our age, though. I would think that would be the first question on their mind when wondering why so little youth remain in the church. Just as God has inspired you to repair the church, he has called me to do the same in this new generation. I'd love to hear your opinion on this and if you're seeing this similar. So what advice am I going to give you? Well, it's actually, today is Cornelius, Pope and Martyr, and Cyprian, Bishop and Martyr. And I was just reading from the letter of St. Cyprian, Bishop and Martyr. And at one stage, he said, "Divine providence has now prepared us." It's in the Liturgy of the Hours. God's mercy has God's merciful design has warned us that the day of our own struggle, of our own contest, is at hand. Okay, so that's from the Divine Office today. What advice can I give you? The faith is not easy. It's not easy to be a Catholic today, and it's not easy to be a young Catholic today. The church, sadly, the Catholic Church at the moment is governed by a generation in their 60s, 70s and 80s that has come through the craziness of post-Vatican II. We've had 10 years where one pope has said one thing, and the other pope has gone and said completely different as regards the Mass. You couldn't invent what's going on in the church, the craziness that's gone on in the church. We have 800,000 Catholic students in Ireland in Catholic primary and secondary schools. 800,000. And yet when the Pope came in 2018, they were barely able to get 6,000 people under the age of 20 to go to meet the Pope in Phoenix Park. There were some events where they got schools involved, but we see it in the worship at Mass. There's a whole generation missing. What you're seeing at 22 is replicated all across the English-speaking world and Europe and so forth. It's an extremely hard time to be Catholic. The only advice I can give you at this moment of craziness in the church, where the church can't make up its mind what is the highest form of worship in the church, how the Mass should be celebrated. There's this battle going on. The only advice I could give you is to go to a traditional Latin Mass community. Because here in Ireland, those communities have a lot of, they have a vibrant youth community. The Society of St. Pius X has a very fast growing community of young people. You go to their Mass and they will have 12 altar boys serving. You look around the church, there's a lot of connections in there. There's a lot of families. If you want to network with people that love the faith, a woman that wants to live the faith in her marriage, that's looking for a man that wants to live the faith, then you need to network in those communities. The church is trying to play this down, but in 30, 40 years, you will have 60, 70 million traditional Catholics around the world. It's the fastest growing Catholic movement in the church. You can also network into a good community run by Dominicans or Opus Dei. Opus Dei, really good. There's not that many communities here, but I remember in other countries, in Spain or in Mexico, there were really good Opus Dei networks in there. But the parish system, the ordinary parish system, is collapsing everywhere, especially in Ireland. It doesn't have the structures left in place to provide faith formation and to provide faith support. Our most diocesan masses, they don't offer confession before Mass, so they're not promoting people to, they're not promoting the graces, the sanctifying graces of the Eucharist. They seem to think everybody goes up to communion at a funeral or at a wedding or at a, something like this, but at an ordinary Sunday Mass, you would struggle to see people under 30 in many places around Ireland. It varies, so I don't think it's too dissimilar in the US. When I went to the US, 2 years ago, I did a tour of various communities in the South, in Atlanta and in Alabama and Tennessee, just to see how faith was lived in the US, to see if we could pick up something to bring back to Ireland. And I went around different parishes around Atlanta, and I can tell you, I mean, you do have some vibrant Latin communities, like Mexicans, and so you have a lot of vibrant Latin communities. But as far as English-speaking communities, I found in America anyway that the traditional communities seem to have a younger demographic. So that's the place you need to network into. You could try and reach out and find other peers of your age and try and create a men's prayer group or a youth prayer group. Definitely works. I mean, I travel an hour and a half somewhere in Ireland. We have there's a men's prayer group that I go to, and it's a great help. You can network with other people, and you can help and see what's happening. But it's a sad situation in the church, because the generation of the 60s, 70s and 80s don't understand the identity crisis that people have today. They think that young people want this felt guitar, kumbaya, 1970s worship, and people are just running away from that. It's cringe. 1970s worship is cringe today. People don't want that. They want old school Catholicism. They want traditional Latin Mass, Gregorian chants, reverent silence. They want spiritual challenge. The whole generation wants a spiritual challenge. They want to be challenged. The world isn't challenging them. The church doesn't challenging it. So it's going to take 20 to 30 years for the church to actually realize this, because all of the younger generation today of priests, most of them, the few that are coming up, a lot of the younger generation of priests that are in their 20s and 30s today, they're all usually traditional. They're all, even though they'll say the Novus Order, they're traditional minded. They want reverence. They want beauty. They want what's true, good and beautiful. They have zeal. They want to minister to people. They want an identity. They wear their clerical garb or their habit. They want an identity. And that's the generation that's going to bring the church up. Traditional. This is where we're heading. The church doesn't like it. Rome doesn't like it. They don't like the rigidity and blah, 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 blah. Look, popes die off, and we'll just have to see what comes after this. Maybe the Holy Spirit will intervene at some stage. But I would just suggest that you network with traditional Catholics, because in Ireland we have 600,000 or 500,000 secondary school students in Catholic schools, but you would struggle to get 5,000 teenagers at a youth festival, a Catholic youth festival in Ireland. You would struggle. You would struggle to get 500 or 600 Catholics, teenagers at a youth. It'd have to be heavily promoted. You'd nearly have to bus them through to it from school or pay them to go. It is. That's where we've headed at the moment. And we only had to see the way it was with the Pope's visit here in 2018, because we don't teach the faith. It's simply not taught, and that's the sad reality. Because the church hasn't taught the faith, it's a miracle some youth have actually survived what they've survived. I mean, here in our local parish, there's absolutely nothing for a teenage boy. There's actually absolutely no faith group, nothing. There is in this diocese where I am, there is nothing for a 20-year-old man who loves the faith, who wants to get involved in the faith. There is nothing. It's completely dead and gone. So there's nothing there to, as far as a faith group with prayer, with confession, with mass. Do you know what I mean? That a catechesis, a spiritual challenge. So any boy or any guy that's interested in the faith, where do we send them to? In this diocese, that come to me, people ask me, where can I go, Robert? I said, go to the Society of St. Pius X. Where else can you go? Where else? What have we left here The crisis has come to that extent. Any man that, I love my faith and I want something. And I'm talking about my situation where I am. And if I was in Dublin, maybe you could go to the Dominicans or Opus Dei. There's lots of good groups in big cities. Here in the west of Ireland, it's sparse. And, So look, I want to give you the encouragement, as much encouragement as I can. But I do suggest it's a time when it's not easy. You need to network in with traditional Catholics if you can, or a movement. Catholic movement, Opus Dei, or if you can touch base with Dominicans or something like that, you might have to. It's hard. It's sad, and it's not. And I've seen this with other young men and other young Catholics around Ireland. Once they come to the faith, there's no support there among their peers. For it, you're looked at as strange to be Catholic. Oh, you're one of those religious nuts. And it's quite sad, and it's very hard. It's very hard. And my children tell me this all the time. Daddy, we're the only people that go to mass in my class. My son said that. Daddy, I'm the only person who goes to mass with you. And I said, I know it's hard, but look, because since we haven't taught the faith, nobody else bothers going. The church is completely empty of the 13 to 18-year-olds most of the time. They don't. And it's strange. We've a Catholic secondary school in this town, a diocesan Catholic secondary school beside the bishop's house, and yet that school, less than 10% of those students in that diocesan Catholic school, less than 10% of them actually go to mass on a Sunday. If even 10% is there, and they will go through that and get 5 years of religious education and end up atheist. That's what we're doing to them in this so-called diocesan Catholic school beside the bishop's house. No more. It's just we're bankrolling we're bankrolling people out of the church. It's very sad. It's our own goal, because we don't open the doors to the faith to souls. We don't. If you're not. We don't open the doors to the whole beauty of Catholicism, of prayer, of grace, of the sacraments, of a sacramental life, of a life of grace, of a life of prayer, like of living the faith. We've become kind of an NGO type of church. We're like Greenpeace or something like. We do good. We're good people. They do good things. Look, we're not all bad. I never said the Catholic Church in Ireland was bad, but it's not Catholic anymore. It doesn't bring us to the mystery of Catholicism anymore. It brings us to the world. We're an NGO. We talk more about climate crisis than we talk about grace, and that's where we've been heading for a while. Let other people talk about the stuff of the world. We need a church to talk about the stuff of the other world, where we're going. Anyway, I'm not being pessimistic, and we need not be pessimistic, but just know, you are supported. We'll get you support. I'll try linking other people, but my channel is mostly focused. I'm here in Ireland. My channel is in Ireland, and I'm focused on what's going on here, where the faith has been decimated over the last, since COVID actually has kind of sped up the decline tenfold, and really we're it's very sad. But my message to you: network in a traditional community over in the US. I mean, those were the communities when I did my tour around. Those were the communities that had the best faith formation, or some of the Latino communities in the US are pretty good as well. It depends where you are, but it's just find a traditional Latin Mass community. You will find dozens and dozens of people your age that will support you in the faith, and that you can bounce stuff off. Anyway, God bless. Take care. Bye bye.